Welcome to the Grand Collaborations, a part of the Grand Podcast. My name is Niels Tudor-Winter and I'm the creator, editor and host of The Grand. The Grand is now open for business and I have therefore created the Grand Collaboration where I will launch podcast collaborations with partners. This podcast episode is a collaboration between the AIRinVET project and the Grand. Getting applied research stronger integrated into vocational education is of key importance in moving education and industry closer and develop a stronger understanding between them. The Erasmus Plus project AIRinVET has through its 2-year duration focused on transforming vocational education through applied research. The project has developed tools and frameworks that equip vocational education and training centers to collaborate effectively with SMEs, bridging gaps between education and industry while driving innovation and competitiveness. In the virtual podcast studio are 3 of the core partners. Barbara von Ginneken from Katapult, the Netherlands, Maëla Barçon from Hanse-Parlament, Germany, and Iñigo Mujika from Tknika, Basque Country, Spain. We have a conversation about the challenges that the project addresses and dig into the tools and results that have come out of the efforts. Please enjoy. Welcome to the Grand, the EU funding podcast. This podcast is part of the Grand's collaborations. This means that it's a commercial collaboration, and this means that that people have approached me whenever you'll see this label on my podcast. And today we're going to have a conversation about the project, an EU project. Erasmus Plus project that has been rolling for the last years, and they're finalizing it. And before I say anything else, welcome to the 3 of you.
Thank you.
Welcome. Thank you.
Thank you.
Maëla, Iñigo, and Barbara. Congratulations.
Thank you. Thank you for having us.
Yeah, no, you've been but it's always when you reach the end of the project, it's always it's an accomplishment because there's many years of work behind that. There was a proposal, and before the proposal, a gathering phase, and so was, and finally, of course, the actual project running. So, how many years did the project run?
2 years.
So it's one of the shorter ones in EU context, but that doesn't make any less in that respect because that means that it has been probably quite intense, and we're going to have a talk about that later. But first of all, without anything else, I think we need to know who's in the virtual podcast studio here. So always ladies first. So Iñigo, you have to wait. Barbara.
That's perfect.
So I'm Barbara van Ginneken. I am from the Netherlands. Well, I live in Spain, but I work for Katapult in the Netherlands. Katapult is a catalyzer for public-private partnerships in vocational and professional education.
It's nice in Spain. I also sit in Spain now. Maëla, please.
Yeah, hello. So my name is Maëla Barçon. I'm a little bit more in the north than Barbara. I'm working for Hanse-Parlament as project manager. And Hanse-Parlament is a non-profit structure network of more than 80 institutions, business chambers, universities, and vocational schools from 40 countries around the Baltic Sea region.
Now, Iñigo.
No, thank you. Yeah, I'm Iñigo Mujika. I'm from the Basque Country in the north of Spain, as Barbara, really close. And I'm coming from Tknika. And Tknika is the VET center, a VET applied research center in the Basque Country, and our aim is to introduce the applied research in our VET centers in the Basque Country.
Thank you. Now, we promised each other that we will keep this within 45 minutes. That's shorter than I normally do, so I better be strict on the timing here. So, let's get on with it. Now, first of all, here in the rundown, what is this project? Short fly-in on the AIRinVET.
So what's the AIRinVET project? So AIRinVET stands for Applied Innovation and Research in Vocational Education and Training. The project started in January 2023 and will end this month, so in December 2024. And well, a little bit maybe about the context. Why do we have this project? So if we go back to 2021 and put ourselves in the shoes of the European Commission. So in 2021, we have a society undergoing a digital and green transition. And we are also 2 years after the COVID-19 pandemic. So we have a lot of challenges: climate change, public health, artificial intelligence, and many more. And we have this need for innovation in our education and training systems. We need to provide today's and tomorrow's workers with the appropriate skills for rapidly changing labor markets. And at the same time, we want to arm them with creativity and skills. And that's why the European Commission launched a call for forward-looking project for 2022 with the aims that this project would identify, develop, test, and assess innovative approaches that have the potential of becoming mainstream and thus improving education and training systems. And under this call, we had, 3 lots. We had cross-sectoral priorities, we had adult education, and we had vocational education and training. So today we are interested in vocational education and training. And one of the 3 priorities of it was structures and mechanism for applied research in VET.
Mm-hmm.
So why was it a priority for the European Union? Well, with this basic idea that VET fosters entrepreneurial attitudes and at the same time it's team educational skills. So basically it's critical thinking, problem solving, creativity, collaboration, communication. And if vocational education and training is involved in research and development, then it's a key input for business innovation and competitiveness. And it's also positive for them as institutions at the same time, because if they have new knowledge, it improves their curricula, teaching and learning methods. So that was the context, I would say, of the proposal. And it was clear at that time that VET, applied research by VET, was a missing piece in the innovation system. And the European Commission took mainly the example of Australia because it was already really developed in Australia. And the idea was, how can we build a research and evaluation culture in VET institutions? So that's why we had those projects on applied research lasting 24 months. And the idea was to identify, assess, test, and develop structures and mechanisms for applied research in VET.
Yeah, you're already moving into the next block, and that's just fine, given that we want to move on fairly quickly to talking about the project. The scene here that you're setting, why do you have applied research? Why does it matter? And it's of course related to getting the applied science parts of our educational systems to getting a little bit more depth. Yeah, it makes them stronger. Can you share a little bit more about that?
Yeah, I can add something, Maëla. Yeah, we also see, at least in Spain and in other countries, when we made the research, we see that it's very important for VET teachers to involve in applied research project for VET teachers and also for SMEs. But first of all, I would say for VET teachers, because I think I am a teacher also, and we are always working in the same methodology or material with our students. And when we are involved in applied research project with SMEs, I think we learn a lot from the SMEs and from this kind of project. And also it's very interesting in some cases that the students also take part in applied research project, because they see what's going on in their real life in industry, if it's industrial or in other areas if we work on. But that's very interesting for VET centers to make this kind of project. And also we see that some SMEs that are not involved in innovation, they can the VET center can help them to go through this kind of projects, and it's very interesting collaboration in this case.
Yeah, and you know what this is, and we talked about this in the pre-meeting. It's about eradicating the cleavage between SMEs, manufacturing industry, and the research the research world. This is a classic division or classic bridge, valley that needs a bridge over it. And here, the vets, vocational training centers, are significantly closer by definition to small and medium-sized enterprises, especially compared to universities. Many university listeners out there going to say, no, that's not true. But it is true because you are educating the pupils for is much more close to what is happening in small and medium-sized enterprises. So.
I think that's completely true. At least that happens in this ecosystem, and I think the VET centers are always really close from our regional companies and SMEs. The reason can be because our students are half studying and half making projects in SME. So all the teachers are working with companies to see what kind of projects can the students do in the companies, and a lot of students each year used to go to make the practicals to the SME. So in our region or our ecosystem, that's true that the university is a bit farther than us in this case. And to start making applied research projects, not only the practicals, but also to innovate with companies, I think it's a very interesting goal to reach, and we are going through that.
Yeah, I think we should move on to get a little bit getting the project under the skin here. So I don't know who's up for the project in a nutshell section here.
I am.
Yeah. Can you share with us project idea, core activities, and so on? But having a light introduction to what you've been doing, huh?
Yes, so basically our main objective with the AIRinVET project, so again, it stands for Applied Innovation and Research in Vocational Education and Training. It's our main objective is to drive European economic competitiveness and support the green and digital transition. And how do we want to do it? It's by defining the role of VET in research and innovation, by proposing a European reference framework. And we have 4 major steps in our process, which is research, development, implementation, and recommendation on how to implement applied research in VET. Of course, we need to have a strong team to realize this. So we have 8 partners from 4 countries. Maybe to present the partners shortly, we have partners from the Basque Country in Spain. So you have already heard about Tknika. Iñigo told you about it, but it's the lead partner of the project, and it's a center promoting innovative projects in the areas of technology, education, and management. And we have also from the same region, from the Basque Country AFM cluster. It's an organization that represents the interest of advanced manufacturing in Spain. So they represent more than 700 companies. And in the Basque Country, we also have AMH. So it's an educational campus specialized in advanced and digital manufacturing. And they offer university education, vocational training, and continuing education, and services for our companies through innovation projects. We also have partners from the Netherlands. So you heard about Katapult, presented by Barbara. So it's a network of more than 450 partnerships between education and business, the so-called PPP. I'm sure you heard about it. Mm-hmm. And we also have ISO from the Netherlands. It's a knowledge institute for construction and installation technology. Well, still in the north, we have partners from Germany. So you heard about Hanse-Parlament before. We also have the Berufliche Hochschule Hamburg. So it's the Hamburg University of Applied Sciences, and they offer study integrated training And finally, we have partners from Belgium. We have Erashi. It's a European Association of Institutions in Higher Education. And the members are colleges, polytechnics, university colleges, etc. And I think also an interesting point about the AIRinVET project. So we have this conception of various partners involved in the education system, but as well, as you can see, we have association of companies. And we also had an expert in the system from Canada, and Diane Bird from New Brunswick Community College. And well, you might ask yourself, why do we have an expert from Canada involved in the project? I also mentioned it before, but Canada is very advanced in this kind of project in applied research by VET for SMEs. So it was very important and interesting in the project to have also, I think, eyes, from the point of view for someone who knows the topic and has been working in this field for a couple of years and can help us also bring another point of view and say, okay, look, that's how we are doing things in Canada. Would it be possible to do it similarly in Europe?
Yeah. It's good both for inspiration, but also for the always underlying element when you do an EU project that has to be generic results, right? You have to be able to apply it in all kinds of different contexts. So it sort of underlines it already in the partnership that you have focused on this. Anything about the project? So sort of the core activities that you've been doing throughout the last 2 years.
Yeah, of course. I think I'd like to compare, I think, the project to kind of a staircase, because in our sense of working, you have some projects where the work packages are independent from each other. And in AIRinVET, each work package is a staircase step that has to be climbed. So we have 6 work packages. We have work package 1 related to project management. We had 5 transnational project meetings, so in Spain, in the Netherlands, in Germany, and in Belgium. We had the final project meeting in San Sebastian in October. I'm sure we will talk about it a little bit later. We had, of course, the regular online management meetings, but maybe more about the content than of the project. We had, as a first step, let's say, work package 2, which is mapping and contextualization of applied research in VET. So we made a glossary to define the actors of the innovation systems. And we wanted also to define the main methods for conducting research, main type of activities conducted in research and innovation, and as well as the main results of these activities. So it has been the first big step of the project, and it was quite important because, well, applied research, it's quite broad, let's say, and it was very necessary to have one definition for each term. So it was the first steps so that we all work together in this one direction. So I won't present all definitions, of course.
No.
You can have a look at it on the website, but maybe if we take, for example, applied research, we define it as an original investigation undertaken in order to acquire new knowledge and direct it primarily towards a specific practical aim or objective. And the practical part is very important in this definition. And the second part of this work package was the mapping of applied research in VET. We made a clear distinction between research about VET and VET carrying out research. In our case, we are interested in VET carrying out research, and our approach was to look, identify, and then compare. So to do so, we conducted interviews with different stakeholders from 19 countries, mainly Europe, but also in China, in Canada, Australia, in the US. And well, first we wanted to interview VET institution, but then we also realized that, of course, in this kind of projects, you have other organizations involved. So we just broadened the scope and ended up interviewing different institutions involved in applied research projects.
Yeah, well done. Adjusting along the way. Thanks. I think let's just move into to talking a little bit deeper about the project itself, because that's where we want to hit, right? And you already opened up about the activities you've been doing, and that you had to adjust a little bit on the way because you had some realizations and so on. Now, first and foremost, challenges So what are the challenges faced by VAT centers and SMEs in collaboration?
I can tell you something about it. I will try. Yeah, the challenges are for sure, to be honest, quite a lot, because we need to know that until this point, the vet centers are not used to make projects with SMEs. There has been some projects done with the students, but not in a European level, and I don't know. Not all the countries are talking about the same working methodology. So before the roadmap, we created the dimensions, then the tools and the roadmap. And apart from that, I'm talking about not the project but the situation in vet centers. I think that it's very challenging to start working with SMEs because not the teachers and the students are used to work with them. We have a very close relationship with the SMEs, but at this moment, very few vet centers are making applied research project with SMEs because the SMEs don't see the way to make innovation through the vet centers until now.
Mm-hmm.
We see at some point in this region, some vet centers are used to do these projects, but when we go to the SMEs and talk to them about the applied research projects, about what can we do, at the first time for the teacher, it's very difficult because they are talking about the new topics and not the material that it's used to work with the students, and it's challenging for us. And also to see what can we do to the SME, it's quite difficult. So first of all, we need to work a lot in the ecosystem and show to the SMEs and make the regional events, a lot of events, to see that the vet centers can afford this kind of projects and can help to the SMEs to do this work.
Yeah, I guess it's two different languages. That's the classic problem, right? That you come from two different worlds. Also, if it's applied sciences, yeah, it's it's the way the world as it is perceived by an SME. If we're talking manufacturing industry, right? If we're talking within that corner, they have a production line. They have things related to that world of engineering, of getting maybe upscaling their production, whatever. And the schools, the teaching system, is talking a different language. And that is the key. Now, the universities probably have bigger problems than the University of Applied Sciences, because there you have the vision is bigger, so to say, in the perceptions and in the worlds that they're in. But still, what can you do for? Why do you come? What is it you want? Here we are making chairs, or we are making handles for kitchens, or whatever. What is it you want?
Yeah, that's completely true. I think, and that's a good point of view, because that's true. Because the teachers, when they are working with the students, they are working, and it's like a ideal kind of work, or how we are teaching our students how are they going to work, but we don't know actually how are they working our SMEs, because they are really close, but we don't know them, and we are teaching like the ideal way of working. And that's interesting, because this is the reason why teachers are going to be involved in or are already involving in applied research project with SMEs. Mm-hmm. And regarding what you said, that it's difficult to talk about the same language, we have been working on some tools with our teachers and showing them how can they start talking with an SME, and how can they start talking in the same language to understand both sides. And we have made quite a big work with that. Yeah.
So, develop some tools.
Yes.
Now it's the time to to flash people. So can you need to share now what is it? What did you do? What did you develop?
First of all, in a regional, I will say in our regional ecosystem, okay, Barbara, and then we can start talking about the generical European ecosystem. But thanks to AIRinVET, we saw in our region that these kind of barriers or problems were holding our birth center were holding. So we make like a platform that shows you how you need to go to the company and showed also the examples that can be done in a company. Because when we go to the company, they see us like teachers. Okay, one teacher is going to come and he will show me, I don't know, what kind of students he has, or they are thinking on practicals or on students. But when we tell them, no, but this time, teachers also are involved in applied research project, and we want to help you doing project and blah blah blah, project and project and project. And they say, okay, but what is a project? You are talking about a project, but I don't know what can you do for me. So we have a platform that show different kind of examples that the vet centers can done, and like this. After telling the first pitch that it's interesting that the teachers and vet centers to involve in this project with SMEs to see how are they working and to see the reality and learn about the SME, we then used to show them the project that different vet centers has done to the company. And then the company, after looking to these examples, has used to think about it, and they told us, okay, now I can see what are you talking about, what kind of project do you do, and at least here we used to do like automation, prototyping, to unmanned manufacturing, digitalization, this kind of projects, and we have these kind of examples that it's easier to show them and to see examples to then understand what are we talking about. So we have created that tool, and then we need to know that the European ecosystem is very complex because we concern that each country works in a different way. So for us, it was very challenging to create some unified methodology or understand of applied research in Europe. And we made a generic methodology or procedure to define applied research in Europe and to help to the vet centers that want to start in applied research project in a European ecosystem. That
now, how involved were the company part here? So how did you exchange with them in shaping this, so sort of the bridge?
I don't know. To be honest, we have been talking to the vet centers, and we have the voice of the vet centers, and we have the voice of the vet centers about the companies. When we made the interviews all around the world, we interviewed vet centers, and we saw what kind of barriers and challenges did they have doing these kind of projects.
Yeah, I think the scope of our AIRinVET project was just vocational education and training.
Yeah.
So that's where we've had our focus. There are other forward-looking projects that have a shared focus from vet and SMEs together, or just for SMEs, but our focus was on vet. So that's what we did. Maybe I could tell you a bit more about the frame.
I would like to hear how you then worked with the vet centers on this.
Yes.
Can you share?
Yeah, sorry, I just wanted to add as well that they are completely right. So we are really focused on vet institutions, but also in the consortium, we have AFM cluster. So they represent the interest of advanced manufacturing in Spain. They represent SMEs. We also have Hanse-Parlament, which also represent SMEs. So the tools were not developed for the SMEs, but they were very much involved in the process. As Iñigo said, we had some interviews. They were part in it. We had some questionnaires. So we really tried also as well to understand the behavior of the SMEs and to include them in every step. But yeah, I think
that's what I needed.
Yes.
That's what I need, because I know these are tools for the vets, but to be able to develop them, to be able to talk to them, is you need to understand the language. But please tell me, how did you do that then? So in relation to working with the vets, how did you shape it?
So we did interviews and we wrote down a lot of case studies. We also had a lot of expertise within the partners involved in the AIRinVET project. So we spoke with as many actors within our shared international ecosystem as we could in the first work packages.
Mhm.
And based on that knowledge, we developed a glossary to have a common language, a network map, so we know who's doing what and where are those persons. We developed a decision tree. How can we decide, do we want to be involved together in doing applied innovation and research or not? And on what conditions? How can we make sure everybody's interest is on the table? And based on all of that, we developed a framework, because I think one of the most urgent problems, as well for vet centers as for SMEs, is to get an overview of all the things that need to be taken into account if you want to do applied innovation and research with a vet center, because we are not used to it. And you can see that a lot of public-private partnerships that are already existing are all inventing the same wheel. And I think that's what AIRinVET was for, to share that knowledge, because the knowledge is there.
Yeah.
We just don't know about it too much. So what we did is to group all those elements that need to be taken into account into 4 dimensions.
Mhm.
And those dimensions, do I go well? Can I move forward with this?
For me, it's exactly what I need.
Good. So the 4 dimensions, and I will explain them. They are impact, activities, innovation and research itself, and governance.
Mhm.
And these dimensions have to be formed into a roadmap, which is not a rigid set of rules, but a flexible guideline.
Mhm.
So let me explain. So first, you need to know, why would you like your vet center to be involved in research and innovation? What impact do you want to make, and what motivates you? What is in it for you? And that question, of course, also is relevant for the SMEs and the local community.
Mhm.
So then, if you know that, then you have to make a inventorization of what do we have, the activities we have. That's initial education. Of course, all vet centers have that, but they have a lot of associated functions. They have a specific academic profile with a certain EQF level, and all of that is relevant. And sometimes they are also already quite connected to the local community. And they are forecasting, I don't know, technical and social developments in the region, things like that. They already have a lot, and we can build on that. So if you know that, then we need to know that with respect to research and innovation. So that brings us to the 3rd dimension. That's about research capacity, research methods. Are your teachers trained to be researchers? Do we have the expertise? And also, we also discussed this already, how do your research outcomes look? They are not a scientific journal article. They can be relevant for SMEs and your local ecosystem. They can be products, prototypes, proof of concept, all these kind of things, an intervention, and that makes them relevant. So, and then if we identified why we want to do applied innovation and research, what do we have to build on, and what do we need to do research? Then we can go to the 4th dimension about governance, which is how to organize all of that. So we need strategies and policies. We need insight in the barriers we experience, and also the enablers, how we can collaborate to make this happen. Well, and to give those insights, we didn't just formulate this. We made an online self-assessment tool.
Yeah.
And again, that's not a one-size-fits-all solution to all your research wishes. It's an invitation to talk about all of the elements that belong to these 4 dimensions. So what do you need to take into account?
Now, first of all, I hope you're listening out there, because this is core results of a very nice project, and this is what many of you out there that are working in universities of applied sciences. If you want to get closer to your local SMEs, whatever areas of sector you're working with, do this. You have to go to the AIRinVET website and find the tool. find what they have developed here, these kind people, because this will help you. Everything that Barbara's just outlined is a very, very good start if you want to get closer to your companies. That's very simple. It's like this. Thanks.
Maybe I could say a bit more about the self-assessment tool in
Sure.
itself.
Indeed.
Because, like I said, it's not a one-size-fits-all, and it's designed for people who work at vet centers to fill it in as they like. So you can start with whatever dimension you think is most relevant for your current situation. Then you get an overview on where you're standing, and we offer recommendations on how to improve what you are doing. You do that by giving a score to various statements. So every dimension has a lot of statements, and those statements, you can rate them, and with that rating, you obtain your overview. And of course, we mentioned that before too, we had to strike a balance between being a bit hands-on to make it usable and workable for the people working in vet centers, and also keeping it a bit general and generic, because the situation in the Basque Country is not the same as the situation in the Netherlands, is not the same as the situation in Germany. We cannot say from our standing point how you should do your applied innovation and research that concrete. So, but we touch all these topics that you can think of. So recommendations would include things like, be aware that there's a variety of research methods and outcomes. Look into it. Some are useful for you too, maybe. Train your trainers and students to do research. Foster an open mindset. That's what we talked about too before. The SMEs have a profit language. They cannot change that. They need that. That's their survival is their bread. They need a bit of profit. But in order to develop innovations, there need to be space to learn from mistakes. So that open mindset and that space and time, and it needs to be there. But on the other hand, the vet center needs to make the research relevant for their community, including the SMEs. So they both need to find both interests. So the cooperation is very important. So that's also we have a lot of recommendations on this too.
It's vital, yeah.
Yes.
That they understand each other's world and get it under each other's skin, and it's vital. If we zoom in on the vet, on the vocational training centers, and the individual teacher and the teaching teams, that they shake themselves a little bit and understand what it is they are educating their pupils into, what world it is that they are dealing with. And it's many of them listening would say, oh, we do. If you do, yes, you do. Of course you do. But sometimes things move in a path when you're working in the educational world, just like in the commercial, your SMEs, they also work on a path of their world and understanding and so on. It's a matter of just breaking down a little bit that, and integrating that into your education, because that's what, first of all, that's what you're educating your pupils into, but it's also for you as an education institution, research organization, to be calibrated with the world that you're working with. So it's not, don't just educate for it, but you are calibrated with it.
Yeah, I think that's something that for me personally makes it very worthwhile to work on a project like this.
Yeah.
The impact is not just for the vet center, it's also for the SMEs. It is for the local, but also international ecosystems. And even if that would really fly, if we can do this better and better, we can really make a difference when it comes to the green transition, for example. We can really make innovation that make a difference to all of us, not just for the one student in one vet center. This is a bigger movement, and that's very nice.
Thanks. Now, what about the Canadian, Maëla? How did they help, and what influence? Because I'm just curious, probably also the listeners here. Any what influence did they have, or what kind of impact did they have on everything you've been doing? Inspiration?
Well, I think they helped a lot. Well, Diane helped a lot. And if I had to name, I think one main thing that she brought to the project was to remember us also to consider the student's perspective. In Canada, they are very oriented towards students. So applied research, usually when we talk about applied research, we think about the vet institution and the SME. And sometimes we also forget that the student is also at the core of it. Because if you don't involve the students, if they are not present, then, it's just not happening. And I think that's what she really brought to the project. We had these interventions in each region where, each partner was presenting a core activity. And Diane presented for Canada, and she really underlined that the student needs to be involved in this process. And I found it very, very interesting. I don't know, Iñigo and Barbara, if you want to add something, if something else crosses your mind, but it's very clear that in Canada it's very well developed, and that now it's not about convincing the SME or the vet institutions that should work together. It's just how could we do it. So now the SME are also enjoying the facilities provided by the vet institutions. So they are very much advanced, I would say, and I think it was very interesting in our project to have this input from Canada to see that, first, it's very much possible because they are doing it, and to also give it concrete examples how they are doing it.
I would add also that I think the methodology it's inside very structured in a centers. I mean, it's engaged to the year lesson, and the methodology it's integrated in the centers, and that's the difference maybe with other regions.
I was about to say the same. For me, the main takeaways from Canada were that they are very student-oriented and they have the students involved in the whole project, and also that they have research and innovation embedded in their vet center strategies. It's the normal. It is almost part of their teaching. It is something they need to bring to their students.
That's
and
nice.
they do that very well. Yeah.
We need to move towards the last sections here, but I think we covered very nicely what you've been doing here. Thanks to all three of you. Now, natural next block here, future impact and next steps. Have you applied for the version 2.0?
I think in the last meeting in San Sebastian, we have been talking about that, and at least our idea was, I mean, we have created the framework for Europe. We bring different working methodologies, and we created a framework, then roadmap, blah, blah. And then our idea is that we want other vet centers to involve in this kind of projects. I mean, nowadays in Spain, vet centers are working in the regional area, and we want to involve them also in a European level. And our efforts will be to join more people to work on it and to go deeper from the framework that we have created.
Barbara, Maëla, you what are the next steps? Is it anything that you've been discussing?
It's true. The funding is ending in December, but the project is not ending in the sense that it's still a very hot topic, and I would like to say it's just the beginning. Now for the future, what we would like to do. So, again, we have these very nice tools that have been developed. So now the next phase would be to have them tested, as Iñigo said, to involve more and more institutions. Also, if we look at the AIRinVET consortium, so we have countries and institutions that are very advanced in terms of applied research in Europe. So I think it will be also very interesting to bring some countries on board and some institutions that have not been involved in applied research activities or are very new in this topic, to have them, test the tools and see, okay, so to implement it, let's say, in other countries as well. And it's very clear that there is an interest from all partners of the consortium. I think we are all aware of the value of the project and why applied research by vets for SMEs is important and why we need to, to keep improving it and developing it. So now the question is, yes, what will become? We can't say anything concrete right now, because we are still, we are still in the project. It's not even
just putting you under pressure.
Yes, no, but we want to continue. I think, it has been a very nice project, and there are a lot of things that we can still achieve together. So it's definitely something that we will consider, I think.
Yeah, maybe it's nice to add that there are more forward-looking projects, and they are also ending, like Barkov, and also there's Challenger, and we are in good contact with all of those projects. So let's see if we can do something together.
Yeah. Now, the reason why I'm putting you under pressure is because I think it's nice what you started here. That's all. So I think it's important not to. So I perfectly understand. I've been within this world for so many years, so no worries. Thanks. Moving towards the end here now. All projects, no projects run from point A to Z without anything happening, and no projects run from start to beginning without having absolutely wonderful, enlightening elements that gives everybody a very positive feedback. So good and bad. So what happened? So hard learnings and positive surprises.
Maybe I can start here.
Yeah.
For me, the biggest challenge we had was to come from this very abstract concepts of how do we do this, and this enormous amount of data that we collected about how to do applied and innovation and research, to something that is actually usable. And that was a process. You cannot just sit down at your desk and start to do something. No, it's a thinking process. And then you have ideas, and we need to share them, and everybody has feedback, and there we go again. And that loop, we did that a couple of times to get somewhere. And
I guess
it was hard, but we learned a lot.
I think this is a classical. You have some EU projects where sometimes there is the theory part, so to say, is a little bit too much weight on that when you start. To crack that up, to make it open it up, and so it needs to have some nice practical tools for the real world. So how do we actually do this? Because the identification of the problem and something that needs to be solved is absolutely correct. But of course, sometimes the challenge and exercise is not to stay in that theorization, to crack it up. And I think it sounds like you did that wonderfully.
It's a characteristic of projects like these that there is quite some emphasis on reporting. But reports, they are nice deliverables, but I mean, who's really going to read them? Not the people in the field, and we wanted to make something that the people want to do research in a vet center can actually use. And I think, I'm quite happy to say that we did. It can always, there's room to learn for us too, but we did.
It's a learning process. Maëla?
No, I absolutely agree with Barbara just said. And well, it has been a journey, as she said, also going, I think, from this, theory we have, which is also very needed. You need to have the information, you need to map what's already existing. And not only we did it also not only in Europe, but just in the world. So it's a lot of data, but in the end, you really have to, to propose something concrete. We had, these deliverables, as Barbara said, we made some digests of it. So very short version, 2 pages, to have people also have an idea of what we worked on. But it's something different to just, to then have a tool that you can just propose and you say, okay, well, you know what, just test it. You don't have to read it. You don't have to know that it's already existing in Australia and it's happening, but just test it for your institution and see how does it apply for you. So I absolutely agree. Yeah, that has been the most challenge. And well, of course, we had a very nice consortium. I think it's something also that is worth mentioning, that very complementary, and we had this very successful project meetings. And I can say also for myself, because I arrived in the project 1 year ago, so in the middle of the project, let's say, and I felt very welcome and I think it's also very important, that we had some new people in the project, and they were very much involved in the process and presented also with this topic, because it was a very new topic for me. So yeah, I think that was one of the best features of the project.
Yeah. Did you have some nice dinners?
We did, of course.
Where's that, Iñigo? Is that Bilbao or Santander?
We made, I think, 2 in San Sebastian. Maëla was just
San
once.
Sebastian,
Then we went to the Netherlands and Germany.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Hamburg is always
Hamburg.
nice.
Yes, very nice places.
Thanks. That's it. Now, first of all, to all listeners, so this episode will have its own episode site. You will find a link where you listen to your podcast to the site. There you will find a direct link to these 3 kind persons' LinkedIn sites. You'll find a link to their organizations. And you'll find a link to, of course, the website of the project, and specifically also a link to the tool that has been developed that we've been talking about here. So of course, everybody with any interest, go and browse it, check it out, and make the self-assessment when you see how it works. Should be a good motivation after this nice conversation. It's been a wonderful conversation. Now, for this episode, it will be also on the website, so you will find everybody can find anything out there. Now, I'm just going to make this outro before we say goodbye to the dear listeners. So, dear listeners, thanks for listening to the end. This episode you'll find on the website of thegrant.eu. It's my platform. There you'll find lots of other information. You also have other projects if you're interested in that, but you also have lots of information and content about EU R&D funding in all corners, proposals, projects, the ecosystem, and so on. So while you're in there, don't forget, if you have any sympathy with what I'm doing here, subscribe to my email list. Finally, connect with me on LinkedIn, connect with the grant, and connect with these kind of people here. You probably also have a LinkedIn site.
Yes.
Yes, we have.
So if anything interesting in that, of course, you can connect with that. Now, let's say goodbye to the dear listeners. Bye.
Thank you. Goodbye.
Thank you. Thank you. Bye.
You have been listening to the Grant Collaborations, a part of the Grant podcast. This podcast episode is a collaboration between the AIRinVET project and the Grant. If you would like to have your own podcast episodes and collaborate with a podcast developer specialized in EU funding, don't hesitate to reach out. This will add a whole new dimension to your communication and outreach activities, and it gives you the chance to connect in another way with your current stakeholders and reach out to the ones you want to approach. The grant has the full setup ready, making it simple and easy for you to acquire your own audible content. Connect with me on LinkedIn to set up a meeting to get an idea of the opportunities. There's so much to talk about. You have been listening to the Grant Collaborations, a part of the Grant podcast.